Stop reading your textbook in nursing school. I know that sounds crazy, but if you've been reading every chapter and you still feel lost on exams, that's exactly why. Here's the truth. Textbooks were designed to be read like a dictionary, not a Jane Austen novel. If you're still reading every single assigned chapter cover to cover for each exam, you're studying the wrong way for how nursing school is actually testing you. After 16 years of tutoring nursing students, I've seen the same thing over and over again. Smart, hardworking students wasting their study time because nobody ever explained to them how they should be using the textbook strategically. And I know you've already heard 3 completely different opinions on this subject. Half the nurses you know swear that all you have to do is just read the textbook and you'll be fine. The other half of nurses you know say, read the textbook, don't waste your time, just use the lecture notes. And your instructor? Well, if you ask her, she's telling you you're responsible for knowing everything in the textbook, whether she lectures on it or not. And when you add up the insane number of chapters you sometimes get assigned to read before each class on top of all your other assignments, it's no wonder that nursing school feels impossible to keep up with. Here's the logic behind what's happening and why both sides of the textbook argument are kind of right, just for different reasons. Come here, because I'm going to tell you a little secret. You're not actually being tested on everything in your textbook. Instead, what you're being tested on is, can you think like a nurse? And you're never going to learn that simply from reading the textbook, even if you memorize it word for word. So the nurses who swear by not reading the textbook, I guarantee you they found a different way to study that helps them learn to think like a nurse. And the nurses that swear they only used the textbook, well, they found a way that worked for their brain to incorporate the textbook into their how to think like a nurse process. Because despite what your nursing instructor may have said, the goal has never been to memorize everything inside your textbook. I mean, have you seen how many people it took to write that textbook? And every single one of them is an expert nurse in their field. You're just a baby beginner nursing student. Instead, the goal is to figure out what's most important to know. Once you know that, you have to practice thinking about that important information the way an experienced nurse would. So instead of falling asleep over your textbook, start treating it like you would treat a dictionary. Start by asking yourself a question. Once you have a question in mind, then you can skim through your textbook, find the answer to your question, and make sure you understand why it's the answer. And then you get to close your book. That's how real nurses process nursing content in their brains, and it's how you can do the same to develop your clinical judgment skills. Because you're no longer just passively absorbing information. You're using a question-based active learning strategy to practice thinking like a nurse. Of course, next, the trick becomes learning how to ask the right kind of questions. Because you and I both already know that if I asked you a question, you could go out and find the answer like a boss. But how do you know what question to ask when you're sitting by yourself during your study time? That's exactly what I teach you how to do with my Silver Bullet study system. And I'm going to tell you how to get a free overview. So don't feel bad if reading the textbook has not been working for you. It's not you, it's the strategy. And the moment you start studying like a nurse, well, that's the moment that studying is actually going to become fun and you're actually going to start connecting the dots. If you're ready to learn how to ask the right questions when studying for nursing school, comment below with SBSS, and I'll send you my free Silver Bullet study system overview.